Irene, how are you?
I'm doing great. Karen, how are you today?
Good to see you. Good to see you once again in the studio. And we just want to welcome everyone to this conversation today. This is going to be such a beautiful conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And in this space is where honesty meets healing. In this episode, we are diving into a topic that many of us have quietly carried: people pleasing. Whether it shows up as overcommitting, avoiding conflict, or constantly seeking approval, it can quietly shape our choices
Mm-hmm.
and dim our inner voice. So today we're going to unpack where these patterns begin to explore. We're going to explore powerful strategies for reclaiming our boundaries with grace, courage, and authenticity. It's time to reflect and empower ourselves through transformation. And, we need to set clear boundaries. We need to recognize that there is a pattern. We also need to practice of saying no. That's really hard for us to do, to say no. We need to prioritize our goals. We need to communicate assertive.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to reframe our mindset.
Yes.
So this evening, we have a returning guest, no stranger to us, Irene, and we're going to really dive deep into some of these areas that I've just mentioned and help us to have some tools in our back pocket and help us to realize that we can say no. We can say no and we can set our boundaries, you know. And the thing is that many times we tell ourselves we have to do this. And when we tell ourselves that, we feel pressured to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But within us, we don't want to do it. We don't want to do it. So this evening, if you know a friend or a family member who can benefit from this podcast, just share us out. And if you're joining us for the first time, we want to welcome you to Soul, Light, and Body. And don't forget to subscribe, that you will always be a part of these amazing episodes that we bring every week. And it's to help you as an individual to have some answers and to have some strategies where you can work around these topics. And if there's a topic you would like us to highlight, just send us a message and we're going to get a guest to bring on to highlight that topic for you. But thank you for being here because we really appreciate your time. And this time is going to be very enriching. It's going to be very fulfilling. Just sit back, just relax, grab a notepad, a pen, and prepare yourself to take some notes. Because in these spaces, there's always something for you to take away. And the takeaway is to help yourself, or if you know someone who can benefit from it, you can share the message on with them. And you can always say, you know what? I heard this from Soul, Light, and Body, and see if it's gonna work for you. If it doesn't work, it's quite okay. It's quite okay. And if if you know someone who would love to be a guest on our show and they have something to offer to the world, in the comments below, there is a link that you can put the person name in and whatever subject area they would like to highlight. We will bring them on Soul, Light, and Body, or Enrichment of Mind, Body, and Soul, or the Reflective Speaker Series, or the Holistic Healing Hour. We got various platforms we could bring you on, you know. And we are so happy to be here every week and to just help you as an individual to go through the period of transformation. We know transformation is not easy. It's not an easy walk because we all are going through different experiences in our lives right now. But we are here to help you. That is why we are here. We are here to help you. We're going to give you some tools that you can work and help yourself. This is a self-help project. It's a self-help project. You got to help yourself. We are here to help you, but you got to tell yourself, I'm ready to walk that path of transformation, and I am going to do this for me. Because whatever you do, it's your choice. It's for you. We're only here to give you the tools, but you got to work the tools to help yourself if you want to see transformation. So this evening, I just want to welcome back Irene for taking the time and sitting with us and discussing this topic because this topic really needs to be addressed. People pleasing. We really need to address this topic, people pleasing. So I'm going to hand the mic now over to Irene. But before I go, I am Karen Pascal, holistic health and wellness coach and a co-author of 2 books with my sister Joan. She's going to be here shortly in the studio. Your Gut in You and Self-Care is Intentional. And we also have 2 magazines, a digital and a hard copy. And if you have not subscribed as yet, the links are in the notes below. You can go and subscribe. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. It's free of cost. And Irene is going to be writing an article in our next episode. So make sure you go and subscribe to Start Healthy Magazine. So Irene, welcome once again. And I'm going to hand the mic over to you. Take the mic, Irene.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for having me again. This feels so much like home, I would say.
It's your
Every
home.
time I'm with you, I'm like, yay, here we are again, doing it just the way we do it, being ourselves and
Absolutely.
being of service to others and learning
Yes,
from each other. So every single time I join you in studio, I have my pen and paper ready to take down notes as you speak. I'm noting some things because I believe that learning never stops and I
absolutely.
don't know it all. I'm still learning. So likewise, I would encourage our viewers and listeners to have at least a pen and a paper to jot down some things. You do not have to write down everything. Just one thing that you feel you can write on. That's all I'm looking for. Because you
Yes,
never know where you're going to use this. Just like Karen
absolutely.
said, who knows? You might have a friend who needs that. So you're helping them to share what you know and you think that it's useful to them. So you're very welcome. Once again, my name is IRENE NVIIRI. I'm a transformational coach and speaker at Emerge and Soar Consultancy Inc. I reside in Vancouver, Canada, but I operate globally. So everywhere you go, I can go with you for as long
Sure.
as we have internet and for as long as when you listen, you take the word with you. Because what we share is permanent if you choose to take it. The way you use it, it's up to you. It could be of big impact, it could be of small impact, it could be of whatever impact you choose. You direct it. We give it to you, you shape it the way you want. All we are giving you is a raw material. Use it to produce whatever product you want. But for sure,
Sure.
I know if you used a little bit of what we share, I'm very confident that you'll have something positive out of this. So let's get started. People pleasing. I realize that it's such a sensitive topic, but very important.
Yes.
Because if it's not addressed actually, people live life just like that, and at the end there are so many regrets. When we talk about people pleasing, actually that pulls me back to being authentic and being in alignment, because if you're a people pleaser, there's no way you're living authentically, and there's no way you're in alignment with your values because you're doing it for others.
Sure.
You're not doing it from you, you're doing it for others. What do people think? How do I want them to feel? How do I want to fit in? And things like that. So, in simple terms, I would like to define what people pleasing is in my understanding. People pleasing would mean it is a behavioral pattern, that's for sure. I don't want to think that it's a character, but it's something that is learned, right? So it's a behavioral pattern, of prioritizing others, their needs, their likes at your own expense, or at your own, of course, at your own expense, for example, of your happiness, of your comfort, of your boundaries, like your well being. In other words, you're doing it for others. At the end of the day, what you're looking at is, I want this, but this is what I have to do for me to be able to get it. But let
Mhm.
me tell you something, what you're exchanging, this exchange is not fair in a sense that you're giving in something very huge and in return, you're getting something very small, if it's good at all.
Sure.
If it's good at all. When we are looking at people pleasing, I look at it like a cheating game. You're being cheated. Worse, you're being robbed. You're exchanging too much. You're giving away too much. You're losing too much. And you don't realize how, because you have this little tiny thing that is even temporary. The reason as to why I'm saying that this scale is not balanced, or you're being robbed actually, because you're giving away something that is valuable, something that is permanent, for something that is very temporary, and it has no value in as far as I understand. When we discussed about this topic prior, when we were talking about what we should talk about, and he said people pleasing, I was even afraid of sharing about this topic because I was in that situation before. And as I was going through it to prepare for this talk, I actually had to sit back and pause my preparation. And I'm like, am I really ready to do this? So preparing just for this has also helped me to overcome certain things. That's how beautiful this is. That's why I say always that every time I have an opportunity to share, I'm growing, I am learning. I'm not just giving, I'm receiving. And every time I have a chance to listen to what I say, I start asking myself questions too. I'm only a vessel that delivers this message, but I'm still learning. I'm still figuring things out. So as I was going through this topic, I realized that there are areas in my life that I needed to switch or to change in order for me to operate authentically. I'm not saying that I'm 100% yet. I'm still working on this. But as I go, I realize that yes, I am growing with you, the viewers, with you, the listener. So people pleasing is kind of, it's learned, and it's like a survival kind of strategy. What do I do for me to survive this situation? If I do this, will I be able to get into this, or will I be able to have this or that? What we are looking for most of the time is temporary. I've
Sure.
seen people losing sleep because of just one thing. They want to make sure that they are fitting in. They want to make sure that they are carried along. They are tagged along. Why do you want to tag along? Why do you have to fit in? You're squeezed in there. They're sucking life out of you because you want to fit in. But much as that's where I started, but I want us to look at this backward, because I've always wanted to solve a challenge or a problem based on its root cause. I do not like the band-aid kind of method. You have a wound, we cover it. We are not washing it. We are not doing proper procedures. Let's just cover it for now. And then later, what happens? We either come back to it or you find a solution. What I want to do is to find the root cause of the problem. If someone got a cut on their hand, let's assess this problem. Let's see, do we need to stitch it up? What medication do we need to give? We are looking for a permanent solution. It's not a quick fix, because if you do a quick fix, you're going to come back to the same. It might even have gotten worse. I've done first aid before on construction sites, moreover, and I've seen people who are working, but because they want to get the job done, they are injured in a way. They have a tool that injures them. And what happens is they will continue working. Oh, it is bleeding. They get a bandage, put it on, and they continue without examining what they are covering, without cleaning what they're examining, they are covering. And after 2 or 3 days, they'll come to you in a terrible condition, in a sense that they cannot even hold the tool anymore because they hurt a lot. The wound has gotten septic. in that situation, what they are trying to do is, okay, let me bandage this up and get the work done. They have not taken the time to examine the root cause or to examine the proper way of doing it. Yet they would have spent, for example, maybe 30 minutes going to the first aid attendant, look at this, clean it up, dress it properly, maybe change the bandage after a day or so that they can keep working. Of course, they have a wound, it's taken care of, but they can continue working. Whereas if you wait, you're doing a quick thing, you're coming back to the same, but even in a worse situation. So people pleasing is always has a root cause. So instead of looking at people and say, oh, I don't like people pleasers. Yes, I don't like people pleasers, but why do they do it? How are we helping them to get out of that? So that means that we have to know the root cause. So most of the causes could be like childhood conditioning. How are they
Yes.
treated? How are kids treated? When I look back at my life, I always say that I'm an African child, right? And Africa is known for particular things, the good and the bad, the toughness, the resilience. Some of these are good, but not very good always, depending on how you're looking at it and how you want to use it. Being resilient is a very good thing, but how far can you go? Are we taking advantage of that, saying, okay, we can persevere this and this, so we can, we can endure the hardship because, yes, we can, but what if we had another choice? Which other way can we go about it? While we are practicing endurance, how are we doing it gracefully? So, childhood conditioning is a thing. And our parents or guardians, whoever that was, they did what they knew best. I wouldn't blame this on anybody.
No.
I, for one, I normally say I was raised by 1,000 hands. What do I mean by this? I moved from place to place when I was a child because I lost my mom at age 4. But even before age 4, I was not living with my mom. So I was taken to my maternal grandmother when I was only 2 years. So when I was weaned off, I was taken to live with my grandmother. And then when my mom passed away at age 4, then I was moved to another place by someone who was really very generous, someone who was really looking out for me, someone who wished the best for me. Shortly after she passed away, after a couple of years, and then I was moved to another. So I was raised by 1,000 hands. And I'm very grateful for that. But when I look back at my childhood, everything, every home where I grew up had its own culture, if I may say, and the treatment was different in every household. And because of that, I learned certain things that are good, but I also learned certain things that are bad in a way that it is very challenging right now for me to ask for help. Even if I know at the bottom of my heart that at this point, I surely should be screaming help. But it is very challenging for me to do so. I'm learning to do that without feeling guilty, without feeling ashamed, without feeling less of me. It's okay to ask for help. But because of the way I was raised, you can handle it. Why didn't you do that? You're spanked. You mean you can't carry that? But you're only 5 years old. How much can you carry? You understand? I don't know what the perception was from the environment where I grew up and the people that raised me. Honestly, they did their best. But the way that happened most likely caused a lot of challenges for me in terms of knowing what to do and what not to do, or even setting my boundaries, or even asking for help. I can help everybody, but asking for help is a challenge. So childhood and the environments where we grow, where we live, the people that we hang out with, the company we keep, what do they perceive of us and how do we want them to perceive us? The fear of rejection is another thing that
Mm-hmm.
causes people pleasing, because if you don't say yes, then you're not going to be accepted. You're going to be
Right.
rejected because you're not saying yes. But it shouldn't always be a yes. If it doesn't feel right for you to say yes, why do you say yes?
Right.
In the inside of you, your heart is screaming, no! But your mouth is quick to say yes because you do not want to be rejected. You want to be accepted, you want to be validated. Yeah, 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 be cheered on. But what are you feeling in the inside of you? And what is your goal? It is different from, for example, the athletes. These are the people that I normally look at. When they are going and they are almost maybe at the finishing line, sometimes you really see that they are super tired. But people keep cheering them on. Because they keep cheering them on, sometimes you see that they are trying their best to get there. It's not just about the people. What are they looking for in this race? Comes number one. They are looking for a win because when they win, it's for them.
Mm-hmm.
When I get this gold medal, it means something to me. So if they are running, they are doing it for them. The cheers and the encouragement help them to propels them to reach their goal. But their goal is number one. Their win comes number one. Otherwise, if they are doing it for other people, I must win because of others. That's not genuine.
Absolutely.
It's not fun. Even when you're cheering them on, you're actually annoying them because they are doing it for you and they are tired. But because you want them to keep going, they will do it. You're cheering them on. They're like, okay, I need to keep pushing for these people. Are they happy? But if they know that they are doing it for themselves, every single thing you say, for as long as it's cheering them on, that's fuel for them. They are doing it with joy. They are doing it with all their determination because it is for them. So people pleasing, when we look at it this way, what is your goal? That should come number one. If you feel like there's nothing big in there for you, why don't you just drop out?
Absolutely.
Why don't you just say, no, I can't do this? Because there's nothing in there for you. All that is there is for them, the people. How many bullets are you going to take for other people?
Absolutely.
Whose line are you putting? Whose life are you putting on the line?
Absolutely.
It's your life. When you lose it,
Absolutely.
you've lost it. And that's it. I know there are heroes out there, but what's the gain in this?
Mm-hmm.
That question must be asked always. Some people have low self-worth. They feel like they are
Yes.
not enough without others.
Yes.
They feel like they do not have any value if they are not being useful at the moment or if they are not being agreeable. But if everyone is saying yes, when shall we know the right from the wrong? When no one pauses to question what's going on. Where are our values, first of all? That's where self-discovery comes in key. And as I've always mentioned, self-discovery is the foundation of my life coaching. Because if you do not understand who you are fully, you're going to be blown by the wind just like a driftwood. Wherever the tides go, it goes because you're not anchored onto anything. Right? So self-discovery should be at the bottom of this.
Mm-hmm.
Your values are very important.
Mm-hmm.
What can you say yes to and no to? The
Mm-hmm.
moment you know that, people pleasing could be very far from you. What values are you holding up to? Saying yes when you have to say no, saying no when you have to say yes. Most of the time, it's a yes when it's meant to be a no. It is very rare that people will say no when they meant to say yes. That's very rare.
Mm-hmm.
So let's consider our values. At least let's pick that one thing, your values and your passions too. Why are you pushed to do things that you don't like, you're not passionate about, but you're going because of somebody? The culture and gender roles. That's also another cause of people pleasing. And
Mm-hmm.
this affects women the more for some reason. Because women are known to be gentle, to be caring, to be listeners, to be helpers. Women are almost everywhere, which is a great attribute. But be mindful that your boundaries are not trampled over. Be mindful that you're not being taken advantage of. Be mindful that you're not being abused.
Mm-hmm.
Your kindness, your gentleness should be respected.
Mm-hmm.
Know
Mm-hmm.
when to say yes and when to say no. That doesn't make you a bad person.
Sure.
Actually, that makes you a good person and a better person to deal with, because then people know when you say no, when you say yes, you're all in.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the direction you're giving others. Some people have traumas, you know. So the survival strategy that we talked about, you remember? When you cry, you're given a spank. Why are you even crying? A human being has feelings. Do you want to ask why they are crying before you spank them?
Right.
How
Mm-hmm.
are you even asking? You're yelling and asking, why are you crying? Is this person going to have the room, the space? Are they going to feel safe to give you an answer, or they'll just go,
Yes.
because of the way you're raising your voice?
Mm-hmm.
So if
Mm-hmm.
someone ever grew up that way, they have to be good for them to earn something, either to be gifted or to be said, to be told thank you, or to be told I'm proud of you because of the good thing, to be given a warm, genuine hug. They have to be good, good in a way that they never say no. That is not being good. You're robbing these people of their freedom, of their joy, of their true self. I'm allowed to say no when I don't feel it. I'm allowed to say no when I do not want to comply to that. I don't mean to say that we should be rebellious, but I think we can tell when it's right and when it's not.
Yes.
And we cannot tell people how to feel. No one will ever
True.
tell you how to feel. Oh, don't
True.
be mad. You can't tell people like that. Or don't be mad at me. By the time you're saying that, they're already mad, actually.
True.
So you can't tell them how to feel.
So true.
Yeah. Like your
So
parent,
true.
some of these harsh parents, they spank you up, go to your room, come back when you're ready. When are you ready? You've stopped crying and you have a big plastic smile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. True. So true.
I'm talking so much about parents because I've seen this happen, not just to me. I don't mean to say that everything I'm saying happened to me. Several things happened to me, but I've seen it also happening in other places.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
the causes of people pleasing are quite numerous. But like we've seen, the childhood conditioning, the way your parents raised you, or the way the environment raised you, fear of rejection. I don't want to be rejected. I want to fit in this clique or this group of people. I don't, if you've been a student, you know what happens at school. Sometimes kids have to do certain things for them to be able to, to be in this kind of clique.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Low self-worth, feeling okay, if I'm not agreeable every time, then I'm not valued. Actually, your self-worth can also be determined by the way you make your decisions, by the way you stand up for yourself. You don't have to be mean, you don't have to be rude. There is always a way to express yourself and stand nice and tall in your
Yes.
truth, and people will respect that.
Absolutely. Irene, you're really touching on some real key pointers here this evening, and I hope the listeners are writing down some of these points that you're really bringing home here, because I remember I back in my country, I was a cosmetologist back in my country. I had a salon, and I remember people would come into the salon. They don't have money, and they never mentioned anything to me. They would sit in the chair. I cut the hair and everything, and then they would say to me, something, Karen, I'm gonna pay you when I get paid or whatever, and at the end of the month, I'm expecting for them to come and pay because I trust them to come and pay me my money,
Yeah.
And I am asking myself, what really am I doing here? Am I pleasing people? I've got a business to run, and they don't realize that I have a business to run. You come, you sit in the chair. I give you that honor of doing whatever you come to do, and you leave knowing that you have to get this has to be paid for, and at the end of the month you're not turning up with the money. So I had to sit back and ask myself the question, what am I doing here? Am I running a business or a business? So many times we gotta pivot, and we gotta ask ourselves, what exactly are we doing? Are we pleasing people, or are we really doing things that we really don't want to do?
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. Nice
and
example, Joan.
right, and the thing is that I had to really come and grip myself and said, you know what, whenever somebody enter my salon, the first I'm going to ask you, do you have money to pay for this? you know because I can't constantly doing something and you're not paying me for it.
Mm-hmm.
This is my services. Excuse me. I've got a rent to pay for this place. So what am I really doing? So every time somebody excuse me, every time somebody enter, I make sure I ask them that question. You have money to pay for this haircut? Or do you have money to pay for if you're coming for a dye or a wash, whatever it is?
They have to pay.
You have to pay for this service. It's not for free.
Yeah, because guess what? If they are going to work somewhere, if they say, oh, if I get paid, I'll pay you, where do they, as in, they have a job that they do. And when they do the job, they are expecting payment. What makes them think that when you do a job, you're not going to get paid?
It's
You see
it's
how
crazy.
single-sided sometimes people can think, and you're like, just reason this out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you do not really anchor yourself in your truth and be open and honest, people are going to take you for a ride, which is not a good thing. I have seen marriages that are failing because of people pleasing.
Yes.
And maybe they were built on that foundation. People acting, people performing instead of being who they are. Authenticity is very
Yes.
important. I can't
Yes.
stress this enough.
Yes. Absolutely.
Be
Absolutely.
who you are, and guess what? You'll get your tribe. I've always mentioned in my coaching that if you try to make yourself somebody else, you're going to attract those other people that you're not, and you're
Absolutely.
not going to be happy, because what you display is what you attract, and that's what is coming to you. So you're not creating a definition of who you are. You've lost yourself, actually. So
Absolutely.
people are dealing with somebody else. You know the
Mhm.
people you're dealing with, but they don't know the person they are dealing with. So how
Yes.
are you going to, how is this relationship going to work? How
Mhm.
is this going to be reciprocal?
Reciprocated.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah. How is this going to happen so that it is fair for everybody?
Absolutely.
So the dangers of the dangers of people pleasing, number one, is burnout.
Yes. And
And
the thing
just
is that when
mm,
you change the game,
uh-huh,
is so many things is being said about you when you change the game.
exactly.
When you start to lay these foundations with boundaries and all of these kind of stuff, and let people know this is what I'm standing for. You're a bad person. You know how suddenly you can change like that. You used to do it before. All of these things people start to say, but you got to know you got to know what your, as you talk about values, you got to know what you're standing for. And if you don't like my boundaries and my values, well, then we can't do business. We can't have a conversation. This is just me. I have changed. I have
Exactly.
evolved and I have changed. And this is what
Exactly.
I'm standing for now. And you need to respect me for that now. You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
that's it.
And yeah. And on the other hand, I wouldn't blame the other people who say you've changed and stuff. Reason being, you laid a foundation which was different. Now,
Absolutely.
midway the structure, you want to tear all that down and rebuild on a different foundation. Definitely, they are going to get confused.
Yeah.
They can't recognize you anymore. So, if they say you have changed, that's true because you have changed. They say, oh, I don't think I can put up with this anymore. Yes,
Yes.
because you were used to something which was comfortable for you, uncomfortable for me. Now I'm
Yeah.
switching to what is comfortable for me, and you don't like it anymore because probably you can't get your comfort anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
So
It's
if we let the
absolutely right.
foundation right, my coaching actually highlights this very well. I realize that with my coaching, it can help people who are just dating and they want to get married because there's so much that we talk about here. Now we are talking about people pleasing, we talk about self discovery. When you walk through this journey of self discovery, there is so much that you realize that probably you are
Yes.
not even considering or ignoring, or you were like maybe next time or whatever. But when you lay all this down and then you're like, okay, so this is who I am. If I'm getting anybody, they should be this kind of person because you know what you can't, like what you can tolerate and what you can't, because what you tolerate persists and you have to deal with it forever because you're tolerating it. But how
Absolutely.
far can you tolerate it?
So true.
You give an inch, they'll take a whole meter or something. Before you know it, it is far down there that you cannot even recover yourself.
So true.
You
So true.
understand? So people who are getting married, people who are going to do businesses, people who just want to like switch careers and stuff, self-discovery is the thing because then it shines a torch inside of you,
Yes.
knowing you as an individual. When you know who you are, then you start saying, okay, so this has, then you start following the patterns. This has happened to me because of ABC. This has happened, but this is not who I really want to be. And
Right.
guess what? The danger, another danger of, I said burnout is number one. Dangers of people pleasing because you do more for you to fit in. You work more.
Yes.
The reason that's why you're doing more because you're not operating in your self, in your authentic self. You're
Yes.
extending yourself for you to be able to do more. So then
Yes.
you're getting burned out because you're doing more, you're doing, and you're the one who is doing more. The other party could just be doing less because they stay in their comfort zone. That's who they are. It's you who is trying to bridge the gap to come to where they are. Yet, as far as I know, relationships and anything else is a two-way. There has to be fairness there. There has to be a fair game, honestly. If you feel that you're being pressed down, if you feel, that's where resentment comes from and all those things. Anyway,
Yes.
I was talking about, what was I talking about? uh, I lost that point, but anyway, we'll continue. So I was talking about burnout, that you're doing more, but also the other thing that happens, the second point I wanted to say is that you're you're letting your boundaries being trampled over, or you did not create any boundaries at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a boundary, you won't settle if someone is just stepping over. You'll have to say something because guess what? You feel it that this person is crossing the boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is, if you're a people pleaser, you feel like, how do I tell them? If I say this, they're going to get offended. They might
Mm-hmm.
not like me because they might think that I'm a wiseacre or I'm a too
Mm-hmm.
much or I'm whatever. But that's who you are. We are all different.
Absolutely.
Honor yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is you let people trample over your boundaries if at all you have them. But the other thing you're doing to yourself is you're creating a version who is not you. I think I spoke about this earlier. You're creating a
Mhm.
version that is not you. So people are dealing with somebody who is not you.
Absolutely.
Now they are
Absolutely.
treating you in a way that they would be treating that person, but you're behind this person. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Karen. You
Yes.
understand? They are dealing with somebody, but who is not them, who is not
Absolutely.
you. You're
Because you are
behind.
not even being authentic.
So you have this blind, I would call it a blind. So people are seeing this image on the blind and they're saying, oh, this is who Irene is. And so they are treating you that way.
Mm-hmm.
You portray something different. Yet in the inside of you, in your heart, you're hurting, you're crying,
Mm-hmm.
you're done, you're tired. But because people are treating you as the other person you're portraying on the inside, you've got to keep in that cocoon forever.
Mm-hmm.
How far can you go with that? And for how
Absolutely.
long are you going to suffer in silence? Because you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
share this with anybody. You're going to
Sure.
suffer within
Mm-hmm.
yourself. I would have said this, but then. I would have done this, but then. So
Mm-hmm.
you're doing yourself a disservice and the other people, because
Yes.
for them, they are dealing with a different person who is
Mm-hmm.
not the actual you, because that's
True.
what you portray yourself to be. So they are not also going to help you uh, get what you want because
Mm-hmm.
you have portrayed something else. And that creates another version of you. So at the end of the day, when you're by yourself, maybe in your room or somewhere, and now you come back to your normal senses, I would say, you're coming back to yourself. This is Irene. Yes. Oh, resentment kicks in. You have all these bottled feelings. Oh, so and so is treating me like trash. Or so and so is, every time they have a thing, it's me they are calling on to. Every time they need help or they need, it's me they are calling.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what
Mm-hmm.
you portrayed yourself to be.
Mm-hmm.
Do not
Mm-hmm.
blame it on them. At
Mm-hmm.
the end of it all, it's you. You're at the center of this. Remember what I said. What
Mm-hmm.
you tolerate
Yes.
will persist.
Absolutely.
If you
You're
create
so
room
right.
for it, it will grow. And when it grows, huh, it's going to be a fight. How are you even going to uproot that?
So true. So true. Because the thing is that we allow, we give the opening to all of these things to happen. And when we give that opening, that is how, as you rightfully say, that it start to grow. You got to nip things in the bud. If you're realizing that, this is making me very uncomfortable, you got to let people know this is making me uncomfortable in a very nice way, you know.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
many times we are so quick to answer yes without even thinking what we are answering to.
Mm-hmm.
Many times we really need to say, something. Let me get back to you on this. Let me think about it, you know, because
Yeah.
many times we are going into something, we are answering yes to something, and we don't realize how huge is this thing we are answering yes to. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to really pause, look at ourselves, and ask ourselves, is this what I really want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Do I really want to get myself involved in this?
Mm-hmm.
Do I really want to spend time doing this?
Mm-hmm.
How is this making me feel as an individual? Is it making me feel worthy of myself? What about my values?
Mm-hmm.
All of these things, as an individual, you need to take into consideration before you really answer yes to something.
Yeah.
Because many times we're answering yes and we mean no. And I really like when you talked about just now that we're not being authentic, we're being somebody else. So the
Mm.
person is not seeing the real person, they're seeing a version of you which is not even true.
Yeah.
it's not a true version the person is seeing, because
Mm-hmm.
you're painting this picture,
Yes.
and because maybe you got low self-esteem, maybe you don't feel worthy of yourself, so
Mm-hmm.
you're painting this picture to this individual
Mm-hmm.
to be liked by this person, and that is not you. That is not who you are.
Exactly.
So that is why we got to examine ourselves
Mm.
and see exactly what we are doing, if it's helping us or if it's damaging us.
Yes.
Because many times we are damaging, or we are self-sabotaging ourselves to please other people.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's the loss. That's why I said it's robbing. You're robbing. This people pleasing is like it's robbery
Yeah, it is.
because it's taking away the most valuable thing, which is your true self, your peace, your sense of worthiness, your joy, your fulfillment. You want to be at ease. But you're not at ease because all the time you're working to make sure that this works out. You're performing, you're
Absolutely.
acting. It is very stressful. It
It
is very
is.
stressful. I'll just give you a quick example of boundaries. I would like us to imagine plants. I'm a lover of plants and I've seen plants almost everywhere, but I'm talking about the potted plants, for example. And there are those other trees or plants that are planted so close to the house. I've worked on a construction site before, remember, which is a lot of exposure that I got. And there are these trees that are normally planted, for example, on the rooftop, and they are normally small trees. But what they do is they wrap them with some kind of material. Sometimes it looks like the jute bags, rather jute bags, and sometimes it's some kind of fiber. And sometimes we see they wrap them around with some kind of plastic material, but which gives it a shape. It kind of limits how far the roots can go. Why do they do that? Aren't plants good? They are. Would you like them to cause damage to your house? Because you planted it so close, you want a very beautiful flower there, so it can grow as wild as it wants?
Mm-hmm.
No, they are tamed
Mm-hmm.
with love, by the way, because we love plants. But the smaller the pot, the smaller the plant will grow. The wider or the deeper the pot, for as long as that particular plant has the capacity to grow, it will grow into a very big tree because you've given it room to expand. This is what I'm trying to say. All people are good. Sometimes it's their character that we might not agree with. All
Absolutely.
people are good, and I love people. But you must learn, you must train yourself to deal with people the way you want to deal with them. And I'm not speaking to the mean people here, because when people are mean, they want to do anything. But I'm thinking we are thinking right. We have our values anchored in our values. How we want to be treated and how we want others to be treated should be a good thing, or a good way, a good
Mm-hmm.
feeling. Because if you want to feel good, make other people feel good too. So you're not doing
Absolutely.
anything mean here, but you're being intentional. I like plants at my house, but what are these plants here for? How
Mm-hmm.
far should they go so that they don't cause damage to my house? Because if the roots expand into the house, they're going to cause cracks in the building.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
Mm-hmm.
want that.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, contain them in some way that they will still make your house look beautiful. You're preserving nature right there, but they are in their space and they are taking up only that space that they have to.
Mm-hmm.
So the power is within you to
Yes.
set those boundaries.
Yes.
It's you who determines, because when we go back to self-discovery, you know your values, you know your passions, you know your strengths and skills, you know your aspirations, you have a vision. I want this relationship. What do I want from this relationship?
True.
I'm doing this business. Why am I doing in this business? I want to join this group. Why am I joining this group? Of what use is it going to be? And then limit it to just that. I've seen friendships that have ruined people's marriages. Because
Yes.
people have friends for whom they have not given a container so they can expand, go whichever way they want, cracking people's marriages,
Mm-hmm.
cracking people's businesses, cracking people's relationships, partnerships, and all those other beautiful collaborations and all those other beautiful, because they gave them the room. So contain the people,
Mm-hmm.
and that power is with you. If you
Mm-hmm.
give it away, for sure they are going to use it. And when they use it, you won't like it.
True.
And I've
True.
seen people also who take advantage and say they know when they identify a people pleaser, they are going to use them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can hear people say, oh, I know, so and so. Let me use an example of, let me say, Meek. I know Meek. She will never say no or whatever. So she can't do anything for you.
Mm-hmm.
She can't do anything for you because that's how she has portrayed herself. And because you know that she's afraid of saying no, you're going to keep piling work or giving them
Absolutely.
a response because they will
Mm-hmm.
never say no to their breaking point. So these people sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they operate in a very mean way because they are taking
Yes.
advantage of you. So just the
Mm-hmm.
way you've asked very good questions, you when you were sharing, you talked about questions that people should be asking themselves. And I'll just add on to that. How do you feel? Like,
Yes.
how do you feel about the situation when Karen asks me, hey, Irene, can you do this for me? How do I feel even before I answer? Sometimes people
Absolutely.
can say, ah, before you
Mm-hmm.
give an answer.
Mm-hmm.
You've already answered, much as you've not told Karen yet, but you've already
Mm-hmm.
answered yourself. Ah,
Yes.
not again.
Mm-hmm.
You've already answered yourself. Why don't
Mm-hmm.
you give that package that answer nicely and deliver it so that
Mm-hmm.
Karen can receive it gracefully? Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Karen, I appreciate you reaching out for this and that, but I'm pretty engaged today. I don't think I'll be
Absolutely.
able to do that, but maybe next time. Karen is not going
Simple
to
as
get
that.
mad at me. And then some people also have a challenge that after giving their no's, they stay on the side and they panic. What
Mm-hmm.
are they going to think? By the time you ask that question, what will they think? You've already given yourself an answer.
Yes.
Package that answer and give it to them
Mm-hmm.
nicely and kindly. Be
Mm-hmm.
respectful. Ask yourself, what
Mm-hmm.
do I want in this relationship, in this business, in this collaboration? What do I want?
Absolutely.
Is it being served, or you don't even sit anywhere on this table?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not being served, why do you proceed to go and sit on the table hoping that it will show up?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You can see the menu,
Mm-hmm.
you can see the items that are there. Why are you hoping that somehow they are going to create this for you and they'll say, okay, for Irene's sake, we'll drop this on the menu?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, they
Mm-hmm.
have already showed you what there is. See through it,
Absolutely.
and if you don't feel like it, stay away
Mm-hmm.
nicely, comfortably, and don't feel guilty
True.
because you're not welcome on every table.
True.
You understand? And ask yourself, what is my truth?
Mm-hmm.
When someone calls, have you ever received a call? Someone calls and you look and say, ah, someone is calling and you, ah. In other words, you're like, do
Mm-hmm.
I answer this? What do I say when I answer?
Mm-hmm.
You've already
Mm-hmm.
given an answer to yourself. Can
Mm-hmm.
you please give this same answer to this person, but packaged nicely, kindly,
Mm-hmm.
with grace, deliver it? They'll receive it. You'll be
Mm-hmm.
surprised that they will,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Then ask yourself, how do I like to be treated?
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, we talked about resentment. This
Mm-hmm.
is how people, this is how this comes up because people have these bottled feelings of I'm not being seen, I'm not being appreciated, I'm
Mm-hmm.
undervalued. So, how would you like to be treated? The way you want to be treated, show it to them.
Absolutely.
Show it to them.
Absolutely.
I'll give you a quick
Absolutely.
example. Very simple example. I have a friend, a very dear friend, and she has children. Her children usually come to my home, and my children usually go to her home. But when I visit that place, it's like I'm home. So I like tea, black tea, which is very spiced, ginger, either cloves, cinnamon, whatever. At least ginger. So when they are making, oh, Aunt Irene, should we make you tea? I'm like, yeah, but if you have no ginger, please don't make the tea for me. Or if they give it to me and someone forgot to, I'm like, did you make this for me? Really? You know I don't take tea without this. And they know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying this gracefully, kindly, but I'm showing them how I would like to be treated.
Yes.
Another example is here. You see this cup? I hope you can see it. It has a saucer at the bottom and the cup. They don't match, they are different. But my kids were used to handing me water or a cup just like that. Not out of disrespect. I don't think they meant that. But I'm like, if you're giving me something like this, where am I going to place it? Or what if it spills or something? So if they hand me a cup like that, I don't take it from their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've already communicated it to them that it is better with a saucer.
Right.
Because I don't want
Right.
my tea to spill, or if anything, at least I have something to use or where I can rest my cups. I don't stain other things. So if
Mm-hmm.
someone forgot and gave it to me like that, maybe I'll not take the cup away from them. And then they say, oh, I forgot the saucer. They
Right. You remember.
late. So when I sat on this computer just for this program, I had asked my daughter, who is almost 12 years old, to make me a cup of tea. She brought it with a saucer.
Right.
I showed
Because you communicated that to them.
I did gracefully,
Yes.
and they understood. So
Yes.
now it is second nature. They know how to treat me.
Yes.
I'm just giving that example. There are so many other things that we can dig into. But how would you like to be treated? Make sure
True.
that that is communicated
True.
respectfully,
True.
nicely, and it is understood. For
True.
people who do not want to understand, there are people who just refuse to understand how you want to be treated. Let them be. They'll never understand. It's okay. But like I said, they're human beings. Treat them with grace. Love them, like them. But remember the plants we talked about. Give them the container where they should fit so that they don't go into other areas where they are not meant to go to cause damage. No one wants a cracked building because
True.
you've got to repair. And guess what? When you let this plant, because you love this plant a lot, you just don't put it, you let it wander around. The roots get into your house, they damage
Yes.
it. Guess what? You've got to repair it. Who is paying for the repairs? Is it the
Mm-hmm.
plant or you, the owner of the house?
Mm-hmm.
You are paying. So it is costly not to set boundaries, meaningful boundaries. Know why you're having what you're having and know how to deal with it. So, anyways, I think we have discussed a lot from this, but I would like to wind
Yes.
up with just a key takeaways, a few things that I would like us to remember. If you want to note that down, you're very welcome to note that down. You don't have to write them all. One or two or three, whichever one you can go with, start with that, such that by the time I meet you or by the time we interface, just like this, you're on. You already are on your journey. So people pleasing is not a personality trait, like I said. It's not a personality. It is something that is learned. So it's kind of a survival strategy. I want to do this so that I'm not this. Have you thought about bullying in schools? Some kids are bullied because they do not join particular cliques. I will
Mm-hmm.
call them cliques. So because they want to fit in, they don't want to be left out. They will behave just as the other students so that
Mm-hmm.
they are not bullied,
Mm-hmm.
which is very dangerous. I'm just giving you that example. So it can happen to anybody.
Yes.
So this child will adopt a behavior to be safe. I don't want to be beaten. I don't want to be bullied or whatever. So I'm just going to comply at the expense of their freedom, at the expense of their self-worth and all that. And the other thing is people pleasing. If you have that people pleasing thing, it disconnects you from who you are. It takes
Yes.
away from your authentic self. Because remember, I said people are seeing someone behind you rather in front of you. They are dealing with this person who is not actually you, but you're in a shell. So they are seeing this shell who is not you, but the actual you is different. So it is taking away from your authentic self. You're going to start talking like somebody. You're going to start walking like somebody. You're going to start doing things just like the other person so that you can fit in with the trend. And the other thing I would like to say is that you can reclaim your voice and you can set your boundaries. When you do that, actually, that is an act of self-love. It's not being mean or being
Sure.
rude. That's an act of self-love and reclaiming your power, actually. Because you have the power to decide what to do with what you have or what to do in a particular situation. All that you have. There's nothing like there is no choice. Even the rules are broken. You choose to obey or not to obey. So you have a choice much as there are
Sure.
rules. But of course, you know the repercussions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that if people are going to be healed from this people-pleasing thing, they have to shift their mindset.
Absolutely.
You have to look at things differently. You should stop operating from fear of rejection, fear of not fitting in, fear of this. You want to be endorsed, you want to be acknowledged all the time. Don't operate under fear. Instead, operate from a point of worthiness.
Absolutely.
I am worthy. And affirm this to yourself every day. You are worthy. You are. What was planted in you when you are created or born should be cherished. Why do you have to shrink for you to fit in? If it doesn't fit, it doesn't,
Absolutely.
right? So you should not shrink. Bend yourself, twist yourself, mold yourself to other people's standards for you to fit in. Instead, stand in your truth. Live with clarity. When we go back to that, know who you are and how you want your life to be, and then live in alignment.
I like that.
What you want to be is what you should live. If you want to be treated a certain way, portray just that so that people can treat you that way. Don't have your heart saying something else and on the outside it is something else.
Sure.
Live in alignment. Do your best. It's not as easy in this chaotic world, but remember, the power is with you. You choose to turn on the button or to turn it off. You have, just by a click, you can say yes, you can say no, and they are all okay. They are words to be used and they have meaning and
Yes.
mean what you say. Why do you say something that you don't mean? Oh,
Sure.
yes, but in the inside you're crying. The Bible actually has this nice verse that says that our Lord likes a cheerful giver. When you're giving, for example, in church, you're giving gifts or tithe or whatever it is, giving can be anything. It could be your time, it could be money, it could be a service, it could be anything. He loves a cheerful giver. But if you're giving and complaining at the same time, whom are you fooling? You're fooling yourself.
Absolutely.
When I was growing up with, I think what was my auntie, you know, when you're playing out there, yeah, and then says, Irene, will you come and give me this? And then you're like, you frown. If she ever spotted you do that, she would say, no, do not. She calls on to somebody else. That was a very good thing. Now I remember it as a child and I'm like, because you're coming to do what she wanted you to do, but you're not happy about it. You feel like you're being bothered. It's a burden. Oh, Irene, will you come and do this for me? Said, no, she calls on to somebody else. I learned that when you're doing something, be cheerful, mean it, and do it. If it's a no, sorry, I'm not able to do that, period. Sometimes people say, that's who I am anyway, but I just want to call things as they are. I just want to say things as they are so that it is easy for people to know when I say what I say, because they know that's what I mean, and they will not have to second guess themselves because they know exactly what I say. So, my dear viewers and listeners, as we wind up, probably Karen, you might have a few, maybe other something to add on to this. But as we wind up, I would like to say to all my listeners and viewers, most especially women, my heart goes out for women. Stop living for everyone else. I know it's very easy to live for everyone and forget yourself. Stop living for everyone else and start living for you. Because when you live for everyone else and you do not live for you, you have neglected yourself. You're the very person you're going to live with till the end, till God calls you home.
True.
Do not neglect yourself. While you want to be
True.
of service to so many others, that's great. Thank you for being kind. Thank you for being helpful. Thank you for being good. But do not neglect yourself. You're the most
True.
important
True.
person in this equation. I wouldn't
True.
want you to suffer, whereas other people are happy because you've done what they want, but no one is ever going to do for you what you want because what you're showing them is different. Even if they wanted to do for you what you want, it's not going to happen because you've showed them something different.
Yes. So true.
Someone makes up cookies. Someone made cookies the other time and they brought them to us at my workplace. And they were really sugary. And I like sugar, but I don't eat very sugary stuff, much as I can eat candy. But if it's candy, it's okay. If it's food and it is very sweet, for some reason, I don't like it. So they made cookies. They were really very nice. And I said, oh, thank you for the thought. By the time you took to make these cookies and stuff, except that they are really sweet and I don't like very
Mm-hmm.
sweet things. That didn't stop me from eating a cookie. I cracked a bit and I ate a little bit. But because I can't eat it, I left it. But I ate something. I appreciated the effort. So next time, and this came from them, I said, oh, he said, oh, next time I'll be mindful not to put a lot of sugar, or I'll make a few that are less sugary. I'm showing them how I want to be treated. I'm not
Yes.
being mean. I'm not being rude. I'm appreciative, but I'm staying true to myself. Because if I said yes, oh, they are very nice, next time they are going to make the same, and I'm not going to enjoy them. I'm not going to eat them. As a matter of fact, I might just let them be, and I'm missing out. Yet, they could make room for me if they
Mm-hmm.
knew that I didn't want the sweet stuff. You
Right.
understand? So let's
Exactly.
show people how to treat us women. If you join my transformational, for example, transformational coaching program, we go a lot through this. So we want to design the life that we want. People pleasing is not a thing that we want to do. Let us stop that. And there are so many ways we can actually go about it to make sure that we heal from that, or even we
Mm-hmm.
stop it from happening. For those, yeah, it is like a disease. That's why I said to heal from it.
Right.
Because if you don't realize, yeah, it is rooted down there, and uprooting it requires some prescription, right? And you have to have a full dose of it, or at least something for you to be able to get rid of it, because it's not easy. When you're used to doing something, it is kind of second nature, and it's easier for you to do. Oh, I
Yes.
don't want to argue. Let me just do this. Oh, I don't want to tip off my mom or whatever. I have to do whatever. I don't want to. No. Do you know how many people? I believe you've heard from this. For example, people come from families which believe doctors, engineers, and those are the land, those are the people to be valued. And so they will do anything and everything to become such people. But when they grow, they're like, no, I actually wanted to be an artist. But because of my mom or my dad, I had to do this because that's what they wanted. They are doing it for them, and I understand that as children they are in a different position because they have a leader on top of them who is their parents, mother and father. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I have children, and I'm being very mindful when I'm taking
Yes.
decisions. I don't want to be the first one to say this, or I don't want to be the one pushing for this idea. I always want to introduce the ideas and lay back and wait for them to process it. I don't have to get an answer
Yes.
there and then. It can take a while, and we can talk about it next time. And I want to hear their reasoning. Of course, children have to
Yes.
be guided. I'm not saying we shouldn't. They have to be guided based on what we have seen and what we think is best for them. But let's hear them out when they tell us what they want, because they have a reason behind that. Let us always be keen
Yes.
to hear. So you're more than welcome to link up with me so that we can uncover and uproot all those people pleasing habits. We can reclaim our authentic selves and live happily, embracing our values and our passions and all that. Let us also empower ourselves by building, creating, restructuring those boundaries. Remember the boundaries I talked about, so that we can build a life that feels right, that feels comfortable for us. Not just that life which looks right, but the life that is actually right for us. That's the power that we have. You're powerful that way, right? So,
Wow.
yeah, so when you stop people pleasing, what happens? You start honoring yourself. You stop
Yes.
cheating yourself. Now you live with power, clarity. You build confidence, by the way. You stand tall and you know that, yes, this is who I am. Take me for who I am.
True.
Yeah.
And you're
Treat me
living
the
in
way I feel.
alignment.
Yeah.
Wow. This was such a beautiful episode.
Thank you, Karen.
It was such a beautiful episode, Eileen, because you touched on so many points, and it's to
Mm-hmm.
help the listeners to understand that, you know what? We have a choice. We have a choice, and we can make this choice this minute to stop pleasing people and live a life of alignment.
Mm-hmm.
We have that choice. We have to know our self worth, we have to know our values. We have to know our values and stop hiding behind a shadow and be authentic. We got to set clear boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
We got to recognize when there is a pattern, because there are some people only come to you when they want something. Only
Exactly.
when they want something, then they come to you. You got to recognize all of these patterns.
Mm-hmm.
You got to learn to practice to say no and
Yeah.
mean your no when you say no.
Yes.
You have to mean your no when you say no. And
Yeah.
when you communicate, you have to be assertive with what you're saying.
Yeah.
You
And people
have to
will
be
value you for
assertive.
that, and they'll respect you for that.
Absolutely, you
Yeah.
have to be assertive.
Yeah.
And I like the last thing you touched on is to reframe your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Your mindset is super important. And this evening, Irene, you have given us so many strategies. And as Tommy said just now, we really like your storytelling because it helps someone to understand exactly the point that you're trying to say.
Okay. I'm glad that helps.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really, whenever you come into this space and you share, the way how you share, you help a simple lay person to understand what you're saying. So thank you so much for using that as a mechanism to getting across your message when sharing, because it helps a lot. It does.
Mm-hmm.
It does helps a lot. And whenever you come into this space, Aaron, you always enrich this space with your wisdom. And it really helps people to understand that it starts with self-discovery. You have
Mm.
to know who you are. You have to love yourself. Because once you love yourself and you know who you are,
Yeah.
you know your value. You know your value.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell yourself, I'm not going to tolerate this.
Exactly.
I am not going to tolerate this. I need to set my boundaries and be firm about my boundaries when I'm setting it.
Mm-hmm.
So this evening, you can reach out to Irene whenever and connect with her and have a discussion with her. And to the audience, we want to thank you so much for taking the time. I really love your comments, and to everyone who joined us on IG, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. We just want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time and stepping into this space with us. And I hope that you walk away with something. And as I said before, if you know someone who can benefit from this podcast, kindly share us out to them.
Yes.
And this conversation was like a soul stirring reflection, because it helped you to reflect on yourself, how you're really treating yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it helped you to understand that you need to be kind to yourself.
Yes.
Just because you're kind to others, you need to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And this episode is a gentle reminder
Mm.
that you're not here to be everything to everyone. You're not here to be everything to everyone.
Yeah, that's why
You
God
are
created many of us, so that
absolutely,
we can serve all these different purposes. You can't be one person doing everything. That will never
absolutely,
happen. Yeah, so do not break yourself,
absolutely
burn out yourself, because you're spreading yourself so thin, and then
true,
you're left with nothing.
true,
Yeah, much as you're
true,
trying to
true,
please other people, are you pleasing yourself?
true,
Yeah, is this pleasing to me, or is it just pleasing to other people? It's good to be kind,
absolutely,
it's good to help out, but to what extent? Know when
absolutely.
it's not right and
Mm-hmm.
stop it right there. You have the power. You start
To
with
do it.
small things, before you know it, you can take big decisions. Yeah,
True. So,
yeah.
so true, Irene. So, so true. Thank you for those ending pointers. And
Mm,
you are here to live, lead, and you lead with love.
mm,
Lead with love and stay in alignment with your truth.
mm.
I'm going to repeat that. Stay in alignment with your truth. Until next time, stay rooted, stay rising, and stay real. You got to
Yes.
be real. You got to be real.
Yeah, yeah,
You
it's
got to be
easier.
real.
It's
You
easier.
know,
Yeah.
it's by far easier that way.
Because you're not acting out. It's just you being you. How easy is that? Anyone can do that.
Absolutely. Just be
Yeah.
real. Just be you. You know,
Yeah.
don't change yourself to please someone. Just be you. Just be you.
Yeah, because that's gonna be temporary. The time you won't do it, they'll not be happy with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because they're used to
Absolutely.
that. So be you, they'll get to know
Just be
you the way
you.
you are, and that's it. Act normal, not even act, be normal. Do you, be you, and they'll treat you accordingly.
Absolutely. Because the thing is, every day we are evolving. And
Yes,
someone may know you now in this space, but tomorrow you can wake up and you can say, you know what? I'm not going to tolerate this any longer, because you are evolving. And it's okay. It's okay to wake up tomorrow and have different values. It's quite
yes,
okay.
exactly. That's
It's
why
okay.
my self-discovery journey and others is transforming, because transformation means there's a huge change, but this
Mhm.
change is long lasting.
Absolutely.
It's not
Absolutely.
temporary, because we have to dig up everything and make sure that when we reset the foundation, we are building to last.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You
so
know, I was thinking this a couple of days ago. Look at a tree, look at a seed,
mm-hmm,
right? When a seed is being put into the ground, right?
mm-hmm,
The roots go down first before it comes up.
yeah,
So you got to anchor yourself in
mm,
whatever you believe in. You got to anchor yourself. It's necessary that we anchor ourselves before we really say what we want to say.
mm,
Anchor yourself, because many times we're not anchored and we're saying yes because we're not anchored.
mm,
So you got to make sure that your roots anchor, believe in what you're going to say, because people hold you to what you say.
yes,
People hold you to what you say. That is why I say Normally, what you can do is to say, you know what? Let me get back to you on this.
Mm,
Think about it before you answer. It's necessary that you think before you answer, because
mm.
many times you answer and then you say, oh my, I really don't want to do this.
Yeah, like what did I do to myself? Oh, too late.
So you got to think before you speak. Don't quick to
Yes.
say yes.
Yeah.
Pause, think before you answer. It's
Mm,
okay to say, you know what? Let me get back to you on this.
mm,
Let me get back to you on this. It's
mm.
okay to say that. It's okay to say that.
Yeah.
And even when you're getting back, you don't have to pressure yourself to say yes.
Mm,
It can be a no. It's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And
Say
by
it
the
that
way,
way.
when we get used to saying no to others, it helps us to receive the no's from those other people. So that
Absolutely.
reduces the pressure for us to always say yes so that we can fit in. Because if you said this and that, and I say, oh, may I have that? I said, because of that and that, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. Fine. The more I say it, I'll hear it from other people. That will
Yes.
help me to settle with a no if someone said it to me.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so I no longer panic. Oh, they are going to say no. When they say no, blah, I maybe I twist this so that they say yes. No, because you're used to saying it. When they say it, you receive it. So you do not have to tweak yourself.
So true,
I'm
Irene.
telling you, this can be very, yeah, this is fun. This can be very
Yeah.
easy. Life can be very easy.
Yeah, it is. It
And anyone
is.
can live the life they want, the way they want, for as long as they understand who they are and how they want to live their
Right.
life. Remember that column we talked about some time back?
Right.
How
Yes.
do I
Yes.
want my life to look like? Which kind of
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle and blah, blah. When you look at all this, it all adds up. How do I want to be of service to people? And all those
Yeah.
things, you know when you want to be of service and when you don't want to, or you know where to be of service and where you won't be of service. So all these things, self-awareness is really very important.
It and that is why I always come back to what you say, self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because when you understand who you understand everything that is happening around you. Because you
Yeah,
understand who you are.
who
You
you are.
understand your values, your
Mm-hmm.
self-worth, your
Mm-hmm.
self-esteem, everything you understand.
Yeah, and decision making comes very easy
Very easy.
because you
Very
know
easy.
what is right and what is not. You know what is good for you and what is not. So saying yes or saying no comes very easy because
Absolutely.
in you, you already know. Oh, so and so wants me to
Absolutely.
do this. No, that's not for me. You know already.
That's not for me. No,
Yeah.
that's not for me. Sorry, but it's not for me.
Yeah, and then they'll click next. Guess what? They'll find somebody else who can do that for them because there are people
Right.
like that. You understand?
Yes.
That's why
Yes.
I always say we are all different, and there's a reason as to why. It doesn't make us less or more. We are all there
Absolutely.
to serve a
Absolutely.
purpose. When you look at the top I'm wearing, it has mixed colors. The blend of
Right.
colors makes it really beautiful, and I like it.
Absolutely.
But does that
Absolutely.
take away from each color? Each color is independent. They are only put together for that reason to bring out this design. That's how we are
Absolutely.
supposed to be. You don't have to.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah. Stay
Thank
in
you.
your lane.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Irene. And to the viewers, once again, thank you so much for joining us. I saw some people all the way from Australia. Thank
Oh,
you guys so much
lovely.
for joining us this evening. We really appreciate you. And for the people who at other parts of the world who stay up just to look at Soul Light and Body or Enrichment or
Oh,
any other of our platforms, thank you so much for doing it. We really, really appreciate you. We love
yes.
you, and stay aligned with your truth.
Ah, yes.
Stay
That's very
aligned
important.
with your truth. Don't
Very,
make
very.
no one shift you from your truth. Stay aligned.
Mm-hmm.
Irene, thank you once again.
You're very welcome. Thank you for hosting me. And yeah, I'll be eager and excited to hear from our viewers and listeners. If you want to shoot me an email, that's okay. Irene at emerge-soar.com. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm there. Irene S. NVIIRI. Like, look up for me and you can visit my website, www www.emerge-soar.com. I'm always there to receive you, and I'm excited to hear about your experiences and your improvements. Like I've already said, use the tips we are giving before you get
Yes,
to us. The first aid attendant is very important to preserve life until someone gets to the main hospital, right? So they do a very, so
absolutely.
this, what we are giving is like the first aid. Try it out, see how it works before you
Mm-hmm.
get to, where you really want to get to. So use any tips you want. And if you want more tips or more topics discussed, or you want to join a certain program, you let us know. We are here
Right.
for you. And yeah, I believe we can make this work however we want to make it work. For as
Absolutely.
long as it's in alignment with our
Absolutely.
operations. Yeah, for as long as it's in alignment.
Absolutely.
Because if you're going to ask
In
something that
alignment.
is not in alignment with who I am, I'll say no, that's for sure, but you will know the reason as to why. So
Right. So true. Thank you, Irene. Thank you so much.
you're very welcome.
See you
Yeah.
next time. Bye bye.
Okay, bye.